Hello and welcome back to Intertax Learning. Today we're going to break down CFC in a very simple and practical way. Again, this subject is broken down into two videos. In this one, I will walk through the foundations of determining who is a CFC. A CFC sounds like a technical tax term, but it's actually very straightforward. CFC stands for Controlled Foreign Corporations. Corporations means the company must be incorporated. Foreign means the company is not incorporated in the United States. Controlled means the U.S. shareholders collectively own more than half of the vote or value of this foreign corporation. And we don't randomly name any U.S. owners U.S. shareholders. It has to be someone who owns at least 10% of the vote or value of this foreign corporation. When we speak of ownership can exist in one of the three ways. You can either own a company directly or own it indirectly through a company or a partnership, or own it constructively through your relatives, for example, through your spouse or your parents. Even if you're not the owner, as long as your close relative owns a certain percentage, it's considered that you also constructively own the same percentage. Here's a diagram that helps you better visualize. Now, this is a fictional example. We're simply using Tesla due to its popularity these days. Imagine Tesla Inc., the US parent, has a Tesla Ireland subsidiary. It owns 70% of this Ireland subsidiary. The other 30% is owned collectively by a US citizen called George and other unknown persons in Ireland. Tom is a shareholder of Tesla Inc., owning 5% of its stock. George has a wife who is also a US citizen. She doesn't own any share of Tesla. So the question is the Tesla Ireland sub a CFC? Well, first, let's look at the direct owners. This one is the easy part. We have Tesla Inc., George, and the other owners in Ireland. Next, we look at who are the 10% or more US owners, or as we like to call it, the US shareholders. We know Tesla Inc. is. We know George is. Here, we also wanted to include George's wife. She doesn't own any shares herself. However, under the constructive ownership rules, she owns 10% through George. What about Tom? Tom indirectly owns 5% of the 70, but he owns too little to be called a US shareholder. Lastly, we aggregate all the shares of U.S. shareholders. We don't double count George's wife's 10% as she does not actually own anything. The total adds up to 80%. Because it's greater than 50%, Tesla Ireland sub is a CFC. So the essence of a CFC is simple. If Americans control a foreign corporation, the U.S. tax system wants visibility into that income. All right, that's it. Here's the key takeaways. In international tax, we must understand who qualifies as a U.S. tax holder and when a foreign corporation becomes a CFC. In the next video, we'll talk about how TCJA and the OBA fundamentally changed the tax treatment of CFC income. I welcome your thoughts on these topics. Subscribe if you'd like to learn more. See you in the next one.